This is Terry Miles reporting live from Wounded Knee. Pan-Indian activist group known as the American Indian Movement, or AIM, has seized the town of Wounded Knee on the Pine Ridge Reservation.
The authorities are gearing up for a raid, and I'm not talking about some local cops blowing off some steam. You want a massacre?
I'm gonna teach you to shut up! Let him breathe! What? He's got problems!
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today became a director after having a very successful international career as a film composer. This gentleman has put out more than 140 soundtracks to his name. In 2012, he wrote and directed a thriller about American political unrest involving the American natives at Wounded Knee called The Activists. The film was named one of the top 10 essential Native American films in Indian country today. Now, he's here to talk about a new director's cut of that film that he did. He calls this one The Sacrifice Zone, The Activists. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very proud to introduce to you a writer, composer, a director, Cyril Morin. Greetings, Cyril, and welcome to the Actor's Choice.
Hi, Ron. Thank you for.
When we were doing the intro there, you just saw it, but you couldn't say nothing. We'll get that later. But first of all, we came to talk about that movie. Tell us a brief synopsis of what it is, please.
It's happening in 73 during the Wounded Knee insurrection. This insurrection lasts for 81 days. And in my story, there is two activists. One is a lawyer who's inspired by Sarah, the lawyer at the time, who was defending a lot of Native American. And another one is a Native American. And they are put aside for the time of the insurrection for no reason. And then as the film goes, we will discover a couple of pieces of the puzzle that they are trying to put together.
Wow. What about the historical background on this film?
So the historical background is it's happening in 73, as I said, but it's 80 years after the massacre of Wounded Knee happened at the end of the 1900s, and it's a very touchy place for the Native Americans. So in the historical background, you have suddenly tanks, helicopters, and the FBI who try to counterattack the insurrection, and you have suddenly people who are coming on the scene, like Marlon Brando, like Sachin Little Feather, the night of the Oscar, who come on stage to refuse the Oscar on behalf of Marlon Brando to protest against what's happening in Wounded Knee and the treatment of the Native American in movies, which is still not really solved nowadays. And you have Senator McGovern, who just lost against Nixon, who is also the senator of South Dakota. So this is a political mix. You have to know also that at the same time, at this moment, the polls in America are more than 50% in favor of the insurrection. So it's an historical fact that a lot of people forget, even some Native Americans forget, but it's a very interesting. And what is interesting with the movie is that I shot the movie 10 years ago. And it seems like a lot of events since 10 years show that we are back to this exact same period.
Cyril, people will ask, why are you releasing this debut film with a new director's cut?
The reason is that because in 10 years, a few things happen. Mm-hmm. A little details, but in the movie, there is a moment, there is a police brutality, and one of the characters say, he can't breathe. And it's something that I record for the movie 10 years ago, but then it happened in the, I would say, it wasn't a fiction. It happened really, and so I thought that was a symbolic. This part was important, but the other part is also, I think, the polarization of the society became much stronger in 10 years, not only in the US but in the world. But the US, everything is a bit more extreme. And but because we have this confrontation between the good cop and bad cop in the jail, and I thought that was interesting regarding what's happened the last few years. And the other thing is that it's about the pollution in the reservation. Also, in a couple of years, we have this Dakota Access Pipeline, was a big problem for the same people, for the Lakotas from the South Dakota. And there was also an insurrection for a couple of years. And so it seems like history is going in circle. You know, that you feel that some part of the history is solved. Let's say after 73, a lot of people accept the Native American in a better way. There was a kind of recognition. Also, they started to be proud to be Native American. But then after years and years and years, you still have the pollution, you still have the problem of police and justice, especially in the reservation, we have a different treatment. And you have also the polarization of the society, who doesn't help them. Help nobody.
Yes. Interesting. I read that the movie happens almost entirely in a single location, a jail. Interesting.
Yeah. What is funny is normally I hate movies happening in a jail. So in a way, I took something who was far from me, and I went closer. And this is a very interesting exercise for a creator to do that, to start not from what is close, but what is far from you. And then as you come closer, you discover part of yourself. You know, it's very interesting. But I have a great influence from Sidney Lumet for 12 Angry Men, and also I even use the position of the camera. Not the way that Sidney Lumet did it, to start very low, middle, and high as the process of the movie goes, but I use it for example, all the normal situation are on the level of the eyes, all the fights are on the ground, and all the quiet moments are on above them. So that was influence. So I will never compare myself to Mr. Sidney Lumet, but I have a great admiration, and I think doing a one location movie, it's an amazing exercise. Amazing.
As I'm hearing you talk, I'm thinking to myself, this gentleman has got a talent that won't wait a minute. You know your technology, you got great ideas. What a combination to put together a film.
I have to say, when I shot this 10 years ago, it was my first movie. In 10 years, I learned a lot because I worked on almost 20 movies, documentaries, shorts. And so I was totally unconscious. So I knew a lot about post-production, because as a composer for 20 years, I knew the process of the post-production for the pictures, the color correction, the editing, all this. Although I thought I knew, because I learned so much in 10 years. And but the shooting, I have no idea. I mean, I went on several shooting as a composer. I knew the atmosphere, but I didn't know how to do this. So what I did is that I'm a film composer. I compare a shooting like when you record with an orchestra. So when you record with an orchestra, you have 3 or 4 hours, and you have to record 20 minutes in 3 hours, 20 minutes of music. So you have to be ready. The score has to be perfect. you have to be able to answer to any questions, and after 3 hours it must be in the box, you know. So I took my music knowledge, and I exactly with the way I work with the actor was the way I was working with musicians.
Interesting. Interesting. Why is your main character a white lawyer and not a Native American lawyer?
That's a great question. And that's a great question for two reasons, I would say, but one principle. When I wrote the script, I wrote it for two Native American activists. And I met with John Trudell after the movie, and I told him about this story. I saw a documentary about him before shooting the movie. And I heard him saying, we don't like when people talk for us. And I say, you're so right. Who I am to speak for your community, who I am to speak for, you know, I think it's right. So I change my character to a lawyer who was inspired by a lawyer at the time, which was Richard Serra, Tony Serra, the brother of Richard Serra, the sculptor. And at the time he was defending a lot of people from Alcatraz, from DC, all the demonstration at the time with Native American. So that's why I changed my character. So in a way, there is less of Native American actor in the film, but I think it's more related to who I am. And I have a question from my community to another community. Mm-hmm. And I think this way it's better. I don't know what you think about it, but I think I made this move.
Have you screened this movie in front of an audience yet?
In front of
any audience with Native Americans in it?
Yeah,
have they seen it?
The first version was shown in several Native festivals.
Right.
And no, the reaction was always very good. I had this question: why the main character is white? Mm-hmm. So that's my answer, you know. And I think it's I made a good choice. I don't regret it, you know. But the best moment I have with an audience, Native American audience, is the day I met with Sachin Littlefeather, who was a friend of Brando, and I heard she was in the room when the light went down, and for 90 minutes I was behind her, and I said, she won't like it, she won't like it, she won't like it, you know. And after the movie, she was very happy. She was very happy I made this homage. She was very nice. We have a long talk, and it was a blessing, because the two people I wanted to meet with these movies was Sachin and the activist I told you about.
Okay. The name A Sacrifice Zone, where did that come from?
So the Sacrifice Zone are zone who were created by the Nixon administration to use the different rules of the reservation and to create nuclear plants. And there was like 10 or 12 places in the States mm-hmm. where you could have this sacrifice zone. It's very, I mean, it's to sacrifice those parts of the land, basically. So when it's happened in the South Dakota, when they started to drill some uranium, and until today the water is affected by those drilling of the 70s, and I just learned this recently. But when the insurrection started, my guess is the answer of the authority was so strong compared to this little village, this little place, that I think it was a little bit out of proportion, or it was to defend this project. So when the end of the insurrection is in May, 73, and the Watergate starts right after that. So the Nixon administration didn't have the chance to put this plan in action.
One of the things that I love to do when I see a lot of movies is ask the person who did it, what was your, or what is your favorite scene in this movie?
Oh, it's very hard to tell. And I guess you get the same answer.
Favorite
No,
scene, yeah.
I'm very tough with my own work, first of all.
Right.
And second, I wouldn't say scene. I would say I'm still in touch with the actors. We're still friends. Some of the actors play in another film, in other movies, and I think I wouldn't say a favorite scene, but I would speak about a mood, and I still get this friendship. And guess what? I just come back from Montana. I shot a documentary about the Sioux actor who is in the movie, Michael Spears, and we spent 3 days to speak about what it is to be a Sioux today, to speak about his parents, about his brother who was the only child who was born during the Wounded Knee insurrection, and to speak about all the condition. And what is really emotional, I would say, is that not a lot of change. There is a better way to escape. I think as an actor, he's able to escape some bad parts, but it's nothing has changed. Every question I asked him about what was happening in the 70s and now, there is not a big difference. There is not a big difference.
Interesting.
And this is why I re-released this movie. I wanted to recut it. I wanted to do a new release. I wanted that people see it with a new eye today, because our society changed a lot in the last 10 years. Yes. And so much that I think the movie has contains some elements to participate at the debate in the society.
How many countries do you want to put this film in?
I think it's going in every country. It's in English, in French, and in Spanish. So I would guess 50, 60 countries, you know.
I understand that several people, Colette Dehan, Chantal Chabazet, and Pittaf, helped you a lot in this film.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I work with the same people all the time. But there is one question you haven't asked me.
Please, sir.
That I got every time. Why a European living in Paris did a movie about Native American in South Dakota?
Why? Ask why.
So behind me there is in this I think half of the shelves is about American Native American books, you know, Wounded Knee, Little Big Horn, etc., etc. But there is two reasons. One reason is because in our European history, we went to another country and decide it would become our country. Every American who went to, I would say European American who went to this land, invade it and decide it was their country. And it's come from ex-Europeans, you know. So in Europe, we don't speak about this, but I think we should speak about this. The second thing is that the Europeans are very interested in the native culture. They are very sensitive to it. And I think it's sometimes it's kind of a bourgeois bohème thing, you know, that, you know, goes with yoga, India, Native American, all this fashion. But also, I think there is a true interest for the native culture, and they really want to study it and to see it. They want to know more.
Gotcha.
So this is why I'm doing this movie.
Okay. We only have a few more moments left, but before we get out of here, we'd like to give the audience a taste of what you put out. It's beautiful. Roll it, Tony.
I'm here on behalf of Marlon Brando this evening.
Kill me. Kill me right here.
No favor. Stay with me.
Imagine you're on the top of a mountain. You're going to fall. Now, which side do you want to fall down on? You have to make a choice.
Very nice, sir. Cyril, thank you very much for being here today. I hope that a lot of folks got something very much out of what you are doing right now with this movie.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Special thanks to, of course, a good friend of both of us, Philip Sokolov, for making this appearance possible today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cyril Morin.